I am going to captain my ship. I'm going to be confident in my decision making because I have all the information that I need and I don't need other people to direct me and tell me what to do. I'm just an overall happier person because of this concept. I returned back to dance in August of 2019, and so it had been about 5.5 years since I had stepped foot into a dance studio. And a couple of months after I started dancing, I came across the Galen Hooks Method on Instagram, and I clicked on the intensives and I read through the descriptions, and I decided that I could really benefit from taking one of those sessions after being back into dance, trying to find my way again, and not feeling super confident in myself. So I felt like this intensive could really help me just find my way back again. Part of the description is wanting to bring out more of yourself, feeling like there's more to you than you're bringing out. And I really identified with that. And I identified with that for a really long time, which is why I've continued to take many intensives. But it really prompted me to sign up for an intensive. So I signed up for a 2020 in-person session. And we all know what 2020 looked like. So the sessions later on ended up being digital. And I ended up taking a handful of those over the course of the next 2 to 3 years after that. And there is a concept that Galen talks about in her intensives, and she's also shared this online, which is captain of your ship. She utilizes this tool in her intensives, and she also has a course on her GHM On Demand platform as well. And I want to explain to you how implementing this concept changed my life. And I don't just mean as a dancer, I mean in every facet of my life. It is drastically different because of this concept. And I want to share with you a story of how that happened and why that happened and how I got to where I am. So after doing a handful of those intensives digitally, I got a new job, and that job was pretty new to me. It was a management job, so it was a leadership job, and I hadn't really been in a management role in terms of a job before. I had been on leadership boards for different organizations, like in college, but I never had a management position as part of my job where I was getting paid to do that. This position was very new to me. I had been new to this industry. There was a lot of newness for me. But even after a few months, I was not adapting as well as I needed to. And essentially, my job wasn't going that great. And my boss ended up sitting me down one day, and she was like, "You essentially, Priscilla, like, you need to get it together." And I remember leaving that conversation feeling like I didn't know how to proceed. I didn't know what to do. I knew I was missing something. I knew I wasn't confident in myself, but I didn't really know how to be any better. So it was either the next day or the week afterwards, I went home and I told myself, you know what? I'm going to implement what Galen has taught me. I am going to captain my ship. I'm going to be confident in my decision making because I have all the information that I need, and I don't need other people to direct me and tell me what to do, because I've been doing this for a while. I have information, and if I don't have the information, I can make an informed decision with what I have and change my decision later on if need be and if it's relevant. But I'm going to be confident in what I'm doing, and I'm going to move forward, and that's what I'm going to do. So pretty soon after that conversation, I implemented that concept into my job, which is funny because that was a dance intensive, and I'm now applying this to my employment. And everything after that was a night and day difference. I was a totally different person. I became good at my job. I liked my job. I felt like I was good at what I was doing. The associates actually wanted to work with me versus in the past, maybe that really wasn't the case. There might have been a little bit of dread. Not only was I getting better and becoming great at my job, I started to apply this to other areas of my life. And I think one of the things I started doing initially after that was traveling more solo. And I had traveled solo by myself before, but I never would take a flight on my own somewhere. And I wanted to take some risk and take initiative and not really care what other people thought of me. And most people in my life were supportive of me traveling on my own, but it was just kind of letting that outside noise drift away and be focused on what I want and what I think is best. And so I started traveling solo to take dance classes, and I love it so much. I feel like it was always something I wanted to do, and I felt like I would be the one to do it, but I was a little scared to do it because I hadn't done it before. After implementing this concept in my life, I felt like I could take initiative in anything I wanted to do, and I was going to figure it out. If I was alone and something happened, I would figure it out, And I never would have said that before. And I think it also is true in the sense of how I dress myself and how I pick the clothing I'm going to wear, how I get my hair cut. I will say when I go to my hairdresser now, I tell her exactly what I want and she does it. Whereas before I would have gone and said, I don't really know what I want. What do you think? But now I go in, and of course I'll get her feedback, but most of the time I go in and I'm like, okay, I want this length, this is what I want, and just very direct and what I want in a, pleasant way. But I never would have done that before. I've become so much more of a problem solver. And just in every situation, I think my brain automatically thinks like that now. I see a situation that may be lacking, and I'm like, how can I make this better? How can I fix this either for myself or for other people? That goes for my job, that goes for my personal life, that goes for everything. I'm always thinking in that way. And I never thought that way before. And since then, I've given some thought as to why this was such a struggle for me for so long. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I was a student for so many years of my life, a dance student, an academic student. I love learning. I love learning from people. I love taking notes. I'm all about courses and stuff. I love that stuff. I'm always a student, and I think that's a great thing. And I know that's always going to be a part of me, no matter what. But I always felt like I needed other people to give me the solution or to tell me what to do because I was in those settings for so long. And I think I don't want to place any blame. I mean, really, I can take the ownership of that. But because I was in those situations, I just felt like they had the answers and I didn't. So I just carried that with me into other areas of my life as I got older. And I think that was just a life skill that I kind of missed. And I'm really glad that I discovered it now because I wouldn't be who I am at all without learning this concept and applying this concept and making it now a part of who I am. I wouldn't have the job that I have today. I wouldn't be the dancer I am today, and I sure as heck would not be starting a podcast if it wasn't for this concept, because I've never started a podcast before. there are skills that I have that definitely can be applied to podcasting, but it's very new to me. But because I'm a problem solver and I can find solutions and I know that I can figure things out, I'm doing it because nobody's helping me, right? Like I'm finding the answers. I'm Googling things, I'm YouTubing things, everything. I've read some books, I've listened to other podcasts. I'm utilizing the resources around me and just utilizing my own skill set to start this thing. And so I'm really proud of that because before I would have had an idea or a passion, but I never really would have executed it. I would have been too scared, too intimidated, or just would have made the excuse of I don't have the resources. I don't know how to do it. So often I would tell myself, I don't know how to do it. So I guess that means I can't do it. Like, what? Especially this day and age with internet, you can YouTube anything. You can Google anything. And now you have Chat GPT that can tell you anything. It's insane. So at this point in time, if you don't know how to do something, you can just look it up. What a concept. But even not, like, I guarantee you can figure it out. And I don't want to go into the specifics on how Galen utilizes this concept in her intensives, but I hope, if anything, you can trust what I just shared because it has 1000% changed my life. And there have been other things that have made an impact on me as well, but I would say this concept alone has made the biggest difference in everything that I do. And if it's made an impact on me, it can make an impact on you. If this is something that you struggle with, this is obviously something I'm really passionate about because it's made such an impact on me. So I do want to mention that if you have the ability to take a Galen Hooks Method intensive, please do it. But if you're not able to take an intensive, take an in-person class. She tends to do what they're called night of dance classes, where there's 3 to 4 classes in a row. Usually they're of various styles, which I love. So you might get something from like hip hop to lyrical to acting based to she's doing minimalist choreography now. It's so across the board. It keeps you on your toes. You don't know if it's going to be your best thing or not. And honestly, that's personally what I love about taking classes. I never know if it's going to be my thing or if it's not going to be my thing. I like that challenge of it. So I really love that she teaches such a wide variety of styles. But if you can't do an in-person class, she also has GHM on-demand classes. You can take these anywhere in the world, digitally, at any time of the day, and it's something that you can have with you for the rest of your life. You can return to the course a month later, a year later, 5 years later. You'll always have that documentation if you ever need a refresher. She has choreography classes, how to retain choreography classes, a course on pursuing dance in the industry. She also has a course on the captain your ship mindset. So I would really encourage you to take that, if anything. I've taken that one myself. I've taken notes. I've just kind of refreshed myself on that and how I can apply it to different areas of my life, including dance. So I would really encourage you to do that. And if you can't do that, she gives really great insight on social media. I would say YouTube and Instagram specifically. She has some really good educational videos on there, but also even in the captions sometimes she'll share something that's really insightful or a tool that you could practice yourself. It may not be direct, but when she's describing the dancer and describing what they're doing well, it's something that you can take note of and be like, okay, let me practice this myself. Let me practice this the next time I'm in class. So She has great information on her social media as well if you're not able to do any of those other things. What I've learned after now being back into dance, the importance of investing in yourself early on, because that can make a huge impact on your dance ability in the long run. I know it can be kind of a lot in the beginning, and you just hope that you're going to get better over time, and you will get better over time, but this is like a fast track way to improve over time if you're putting in that work on the front end. And it's usually not about how you leave that intensive initially, but more so how you feel 6 months later to a year later to 3 years later. It's the long-term impact. So it's a lot up front. And I understand that, especially if you travel to these intensives, which I've done myself, so I definitely understand. But it's worth investing on the front end. And I will even say, if it's not the intensive, maybe it's that one course you save up for. Or maybe you go back through her posts and you find that free piece of information that you can apply to your classes. I know this might not necessarily work for everyone's situation, but if you are somebody that takes a lot of class weekly, I think it could be worth considering, maybe, if you think this is the best option for you, maybe eliminating one of those classes for a few months and save the money that you would have spent on that class and save the money you would have spent in terms of gas there and back. And if you could put that towards an intensive, in the long run, you're going to get more out of class than you would have without taking that intensive. Now, you do have to be proactive in the sense of you need to apply the critiques you get in those intensives. You don't want to just take it and not apply it. But I feel like you will automatically start to do that because you'll see the impacts and you'll feel the impacts of the decisions that you are making and how you're approaching class and all of that. I've talked a lot about how this concept impacted my life, but it's also, of course, impacted my dancing. Oh my goodness. It impacts the way that I approach class. It impacts the way that I leave class, which is so important. Oh my gosh, I cannot speak to that enough, really. Before, I was taking a lot of class at one point, many, many classes weekly for a while. And that was a lot when I had returned to dance and hadn't been dancing for a while. I would leave class most of the time feeling sad, frustrated, wishing that things in my life went a little differently, in the sense that I wish I never quit dance because it's so hard to return. So hard. But also I might be upset with the teacher because they decided to film class and they decided to film everybody else in this large class except for me and another person. Not a great feeling. Been there many times. The way I leave class now, and I think it also has to do with just like my life experience as well, but the way I leave class now is just so grateful, so appreciative. I acknowledge my strengths. I acknowledge where I need improvement. And I also acknowledge my own situation. So everybody is different, not everybody is able to get in a class multiple times a day, multiple times a week. Some of us take class once every 3 months. And when you're not taking class consistently and when you are not dancing consistently, things are just harder. So I always acknowledge my situation in the sense of, I took 4 in-person choreography classes last year. It pains me to say it. I'm hoping to change that this year. But at some point in time, I used to take like 3 to 4 classes a day. So, and I mean when I returned to dance. So to say I took 4 choreography classes last year is just like a dagger to the heart, man. God. I don't want to think about it. But anyway, so when I was in any one of those classes, I had to remind myself, it's been a minute. You're not going to get it all. You're not going to get all the details. It's okay. Once you're more consistent again, you will get there. Just acknowledging all of that and acknowledging like the people you've met in that class and feeling like your cup is full again versus leaving feeling frustrated and all of that. Anyway, I really kind of got into a tangent on that one, but that's made a big impact for me. I've also realized that I've always known what I was doing. Like now I'm pretty confident in my decision making and what I do. But now when I look back at myself years ago, I'm like, oh, I always knew what I was doing. I always knew that the decisions I was making was going to help me in the long run. I was always thinking long term, even though I wanted short term results, just like all of us. I was always thinking long term. So the decisions I made years ago have made a lifelong impact on myself now. I mean, just one of those examples would be choosing to return to dance. That was hard. Oh my gosh. Like, I remember sitting on my bed, just thinking of the whole list of reasons why it would be too hard to return to dance. And I was correct on all of those reasons why. It was very hard. But I also realized that those reasons I listed in my head were reasons why I needed to return to dance. And I'm so proud of myself for even though I was very anxious, very worried, questioning myself all the time, wondering if this was the right decision. Looking back, I knew what I was doing. I just didn't believe in myself. And I didn't believe in my decisions, but I knew what I was doing. And I'm so thankful for that. And I give my younger self a lot of credit because I didn't give myself any credit before. And it's really important for me to recognize that as well. And I feel like, my situations haven't changed. My hardships haven't changed. This is a time in my life where things haven't been as difficult as they have been in other eras of my life. But I'm just an overall happier person because of this concept. And I will say there's more to it than just this, but I think this alone is like 80-90% of it. Like, I feel like the things I do now and the decisions I make now are things that I want to do. But before, I would make decisions for other people and not always for myself. So I'm very proud to be where I'm at, and I just can't say enough how much this mindset has made an impact on me. And there's honestly more reasons I could give, but I'm not going to go into every single one, but it's made my life so much better, which is why I wanted this episode to be one of the first episodes I share of this podcast, because it's changed everything about me, and I wouldn't be doing this podcast without learning this tool. Even though I just provided some resources in terms of the Galen Hooks Method, there are so many resources out there. If there is something that you are struggling with, look it up. Look to see if it exists, and I bet you it does. I bet you it does online. There's probably at least a YouTube video on it. And if there's not, I would encourage you to find the answer and share it with everyone else, because I bet you there are other dancers out there that are looking for the same information as you are. But there are so many more resources out there than ever before. What a time we are living in. How lucky are we to have access to all of this information? So it's really up to us if we want that information or not. So if you are somebody out there who is thinking about returning to dance, or thinking about starting dance, or if you're thinking about signing up for that intensive, I really encourage you to take that baby step forward. even if you're scared, even if you're intimidated, you gotta do it scared, right? Like, nothing good comes out of just staying back and not trying. You have to at least try. You have to take that little step forward, because I guarantee you, 5 years later, you're going to be so happy that you made that initial decision, because it will have a long-lasting impact on your life. And just because you start something doesn't mean you have to keep going. If you know that you don't want to continue, you don't have to do that. But you have to at least try. Do it scared. And there's so many other people who have done it themselves. You are not alone. That was another reason for me to start this podcast, was to share with people that we are all in this together. We are all feeling the same feelings, going through similar situations. It's not as lonely as we think it is. I remember feeling that myself when I was returning to dance, feeling like I was the only one out there that stepped away from dance and thought it was a good idea to come back. There's so many other people in that same boat. So many. It's kind of ridiculous based off of the people I've met, but also the people I've seen on social media, from videos to comments. So you are not alone, I promise. So with that all being said, thank you so much for listening. And don't forget that you can follow us on Instagram at Decision to Dance Podcast, and share this with a friend that you think could benefit from listening to this episode. Thank you again, and I'll see you all in the next episode. I almost forgot. I'm wearing one of the merch regarding the Captain Your Ship mindset. I actually have quite a few pieces from this. I've got the shirt. Might have more than one. I have the hat. And of course I have the sweatshirt. So I wear these a lot. It really just reminds me of, like, it just gives me life. Like, oh, I can make my own decisions. I know what I'm doing. Just like gives me that boost of confidence. And I'm really proud to wear it too. So I'll also share a link to the merchandise, and I will also link Galen's intensives and her social media. And I'll also link the GHM On Demand course as well if you are interested. And that is all. Thank you so much again for listening.